Again, my name is Diane Canny. I'm the Director of Enrollment at Ohio State-Newark. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Like I said, we were expecting over 100 parents to join us, so we're really glad that you decided to. I think it'll be helpful to you as you help your student through the journey to become part of Buckeye Nation at the Ohio State University at Newark. With that, I'm going to jump into my presentation. And the first thing I want to do is have all of you read this statement. It's a statement from the university regarding racism and really charging our students and our community with demanding and supporting change in terms of the environment that we have on our campuses and in our communities. And so if you want to know more about Ohio State's commitment to dismantling institutionalized racist structures, you can visit the go.osu.edu/addressing-racism website. With that, I want to share tonight's agenda with you. We will walk through and talk you through some of those acronyms that Ohio State loves. The Buckeye terminology will definitely be helpful to you. Scholarship opportunities, we're going to talk somewhat about scholarships because the deadline is right around the corner. We'll talk through the next steps for enrollment. There are a lot of steps between now and May the 1st, really, to prepare your student for what happens May the 1st and after May the 1st regarding not only housing options, but also placement testing and orientation. We will talk a lot about housing on our campus. Lots of important deadlines coming up. So your joining us tonight couldn't be better well timed, I'll be honest, because there are a lot of important deadlines coming up for your student. The road to Columbus, I will clear up any confusion that you might have about that road to Columbus. It is a seamless transition to the Columbus campus. And we'll talk through some of the upcoming events that we have scheduled for parents and students alike, and provide you with those important links. Now, before I really launch into the presentation tonight, I want to encourage and invite you to post any questions you have along the way in the Q&A function of tonight's Zoom session. The reason is I have Assistant Director Wes Grunden and Senior Admissions Counselor C.R. Barkley behind the scenes with me tonight, well equipped to answer really any and all questions that you might have about Ohio State-Newark. So feel free to pose those questions in that Q&A function, and they will readily answer those just as quickly as they can. Again, a reminder that we are recording tonight's session so that we can make it available on the website for all other parents and students to use as they continue through this process. So let's talk about Buckeye terminology. This is kind of fun for me, I will be honest, because my goodness, Ohio State has a lot of acronyms. We like to throw a lot of things out to you, and we like to use terms like name.number or a student's EMPL ID or a student's ID number, to name a few. We throw out Buckeye Link and Buckeye Mail and all these things. And I know for me, it can be confusing. So I can only imagine it's confusing to you. So let me try to clear up a little bit of that confusion. Number one, your student is going to go to my.osu.edu initially to activate their Buckeye Mail. Once it's activated and they've been admitted, they will then, once they've been admitted and paid their acceptance fee, they will then gain complete access to Buckeye Link. Until they pay their acceptance fee, they'll only have limited access to Buckeye Link. But when they pay that acceptance fee of $100, then they really get the full access to Buckeye Link. And they're going to become, your student needs to become real familiar with Buckeye Link because all of their business with Ohio State is done through Buckeye Link. For me and for future students, things like the Carmen course for orientation will be in Buckeye Link. Information regarding their financial aid award will be found in Buckeye Link. So very easy for a student to become familiar and obviously to check that quite often through using, again, through their Buckeye Mail, but also by logging in with their name.number through Buckeye Link. And I'm going to talk about name.number in just a few moments. The applicant center versus Carmen. You can kind of put Carmen off to the side for a while. Carmen will be used and really become important to your student when they enroll. They will take a Carmen course a course in Carmen leading into their orientation with us this summer. And they will also use Carmen to schedule future courses. Now, the applicant center is more relevant right now, especially if your student, if you find your student is still in the application process or in the admission process and they haven't paid their acceptance fee. They will actually go to the applicant center, their applicant center, and pay the acceptance fee. So that is a very important part of the process. The to-do list for your student is going to be found in Buckeye Link. Things that appear on the to-do list. For example, it will be important that we have your student's final high school transcript, which includes their high school graduation date. So that can't be sent to us until the summer, but something for you to kind of earmark as something that will appear on their to-do list, and most importantly, will keep them from scheduling their spring term courses if we don't have their final high school transcript. Other things that will appear on your to-do list. For the gentlemen, for the male students, their selective service number will be something that we request of all male students. And also the vaccination requirement or proof of exemption status will appear on your students' to-do list. And that deadline is still being worked out for students who will enroll for autumn term, but likely it will be that your student must be vaccinated by July 15th. Somewhere the middle to the end of July is where we're likely going to land. The financial responsibility statement is simply about, it's a very short document that your student must complete. It will be part of their to-do list and can keep them from registering for the next semester's courses. And that is an easy document to complete. It's literally, I think, 4 check marks, basically saying to us that your student is going to pay they're going to be responsible for any tuition or fees that Ohio State does expect them to pay. But that must be filled out before they can schedule courses for any term. Application fee versus acceptance fee. We know from history that some students and families get very confused about this. The application fee is $60 and your student needed to pay that, likely did pay it when they first applied for admission. The acceptance fee is after your student becomes accepted to the Ohio State University, and that is a $100 fee that must be paid for your student to actually matriculate in our process. The OSU ID versus the name.number. When your student is admitted, they immediately get assigned a name.number. Mine, for instance, is part of my email address, and so will your students be. Mine is canny.24, and your students will have something similar to that. It'll be their name.number. Their OSU ID is actually a 9-digit number. And sometimes in this process, your student will need to know their OSU ID. We will ask for it. And sometimes they'll simply need to know their name.number. Again, to log into certain things like Buckeye Link, they will need their name.number. And that will become part of their email address. A student's admissions counselor is whom they should be working with right now through this process. For instance, like I mentioned earlier, Wes Grundon and C.R. Barkley are with me tonight behind the scenes answering your questions. And they are working with students as are members of my team to make sure that they're getting through the admissions and the enrollment process. Now, what typically happens is once a student gets to orientation, then our office basically hands them over to the advisor. And at that point, they really become the responsibility of the academic advisor, and they want to lean on that person more than they want to lean on us. We really kind of get students to campus and get students to enroll, And then the advisor takes over in terms of really helping the students select not only their courses for their future semesters, but also helping students who do want to transition to the Columbus campus get prepared to do so. The Buckeye Opportunity Program is an opportunity for any of you who have qualified for the federal Pell Grant. That will allow your students to enroll at Ohio State-Newark at the cost of $0. You will pay nothing in terms of tuition if you qualify for that federal Pell Grant. What Ohio State is doing is saying to those families that qualify for the federal Pell program that anything that the program does not pay for, Ohio State will take care of with grants for your student. So a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for you. Costs in applying for scholarships. Obviously, the cost of higher education continues to go up. And what I'll show you here are the current numbers for both Ohio State-Newark and the Columbus campus. You'll see that tuition and fees on our campus are about a third less than the Columbus campus. And that's on purpose. When the governor put these regional campuses in place many, many years ago, he said two things. I want them to be affordable and I want them to be accessible. And that we are, no doubt about it. That rings a bell with us on the Ohio State-Newark campus. There's certainly not less value. If you get a chance to attend another event and you interact with our faculty and staff, you will learn quickly that there is not less value in the experience that we offer students on our campus. Now, the slide that you're looking at might look a little bit confusing because of the room and board, and it's built this way on purpose because our students do lots of different, I guess I should say, our students have different opportunities than they would on the Columbus campus for room and board. Students are not required to live on our campus because we only have space on campus for 310 students, and we enroll over 2,700 students. So they must live either at home with their folks or parents or guardians, or they live in an off-campus apartment. And there are plenty of those around the area, in and around the city of Newark and the community of Newark. And so that's why that room and board looks a little bit confusing. I will share that if your student lives off campus or is commuting, they are still welcome to have some type of a meal plan with us, or you can simply put funds on their Buck ID, which can be used on our campus for food, on our campus to purchase things in the bookstore, or if they have friends on the Columbus campus, they can use that same Buck ID to gain access to the Thompson Library or to dine with their friends on the Columbus campus. Scholarship types. We have several different scholarship types. And again, you're very timely with joining us tonight because there is an upcoming deadline in 5 short days. And that deadline is for these special or endowed scholarships. And those are for students who are enrolling at Ohio State-Newark. And those are on the Ohio State-Newark website. That is sometimes a bit confusing. There are about 17 scholarships, special scholarships at Ohio State-Newark that will require your student to do something. Sometimes it's as easy as just filling out a simple application. Oftentimes we're asking your student to write a brief essay. It's nothing that's going to take them a lot of time. I remember back to my days, my father was employed at Timken, and I remember pages and pages of an application for a scholarship coming home with him. And I filled it out and never heard anything from that scholarship opportunity. And it was just pages and pages of short essay questions and more information about me. It's not like that. I can assure you, your student can easily complete scholarships for us. And in fact, we really encourage them to do so. Now, the merit-based scholarships are based on your student's application for admission. They need not do anything else until they hear from me. We will select a very small pool of candidates to write an essay for us for a merit-based scholarship consideration. And I will share that those scholarships are extremely competitive, extremely competitive. So they are valued at $4,000. And I will tell you that we're likely going to be awarding about 20 of those scholarships only this year. There are some scholarships that are awarded by the Columbus campus. Honestly, that ship has kind of sailed for your student. That deadline is typically February the 1st. So we really encourage your student at this point, not only to apply for our special scholarships or endowed scholarships, but also to look for external scholarships, the YMCA, the Rotary Club, agencies like that. Maybe even your place of employment could help your son or daughter. The scholarship to-do list, again, 2 of these things have already passed. Submitting the FAFSA is important to do by February 1st. That is the priority deadline. If you haven't done that yet, we just strongly encourage you to do so as soon as possible. Scholarship Universe is, again, most of the scholarships on Scholarship Universe, that deadline was also February the 1st. Now, that is for all Ohio State students. And so your student should certainly, I still welcome them to go on there and fill out Scholarship Universe. It's a scholarship finding tool, and your student will know pretty quickly if he or she qualifies for any scholarship and how to go forward with the application. And of course, I'm going to reemphasize reviewing and completing our Ohio State and Newark scholarship applications at that address, which is simply go.osu.edu/Newark scholarships. I'd like to have you note that scholarships are campus specific. And so if your student is enrolling on our campus and receives scholarships from us, and then decides to complete their degree on the Columbus campus, which a lot of our students do, most of our students do transition to the Columbus campus to finish those. Once they do, any scholarship received on our campus does not go with them. They must apply for scholarships on the Columbus campus. Again, a little bit more about that timeline. The most crucial is that March 15th deadline for those Ohio State Newark applications. If you do have any questions regarding financial aid, if you've been selected for verification, you're not sure how to do that process, or have any questions about scholarships, feel free to reach out to our folks and our colleagues in the Student Financial Services office. They are available, and I can pretty much guarantee you'll hear back from someone in their office within 24 hours. Same thing with us. We are always available for your calls as well. Let's talk through a few of the next steps for enrollment. This document on the left-hand side of your screen should look really familiar to you. It's been mailed to your students in their admit packet. I really encourage students to pull that out, put it up on the refrigerator, on a wall in the kitchen, someplace where you can look at it often and check things off as you complete them. I think this will help you meet deadlines and also really stay informed about what you and your student should be doing. Of course, submitting the FAFSA as soon as you can. When you're ready, your student should pay the acceptance fee. When they know that they want to enroll, they should certainly pay that acceptance fee. There are benefits to paying that acceptance fee by May the 1st. And the most important benefit is if your student pays the acceptance fee of $100 by May the 1st, they will be amongst the first to receive an invitation to orientation. That may not sound like a big deal, but let me tell you something. I'll share a little secret here. Students who attend summer orientation in June versus later in the summer have a much better course selection, honestly. There are many more courses available to your student in June than they would be in July. And if they want that perfect schedule, again, that word perfect means something different to all of us. Some students don't want any classes before 10 a.m. And some students want all classes before noon. They want to be finished and off campus by noon. If you want that perfect schedule, your student should try to pay that acceptance fee by May the 1st and be amongst the first to get invited to a summer orientation. Completing to-do list items. Yes, definitely that is a priority so that they are ready. Your student is ready for orientation when that does become apparent, when they'll be joining us. Forwarding any 504 IEP plans to our disability services office is important. And that is not the day before placement testing. That's too late, honestly. Your student wants to forward their 504 or their IEP plans 6 to 8 weeks prior to placement testing. So that's mid to late June. And that will give our team plenty of time to properly accommodate your students. And we want to be able to do that. Of course, as soon as possible, when your student receives that invitation to register for orientation, they should pick a date quickly. If you are planning a summer family vacation, I strongly urge you to plan it for August versus June or July. I talked to a couple of students last night. They have a trip planned to Europe in June, and they'll be gone for several weeks. And that's troublesome because they will miss the opportunity to attend the June orientations. And of course, submitting that final high school transcript. Again, you can't do that until the summer, but it is something, again, to kind of put on that to-do list to make sure it's complete before your student needs to register for classes for spring semester, which happens in October or November. That will keep your student from being able to register for spring courses, I should say. Let's talk a little bit about housing. That's typically a hot item, and lots of parents want to learn more about that. I've mentioned this already. We do have space for just 310 students. We do have both the traditional spaces on campus, meaning just a room where your student would share that space with one other student. And then we have the communal showers and bathrooms down the hall. We do have very nice on-campus apartments where your student would share a bedroom with one other student and share the entire apartment with 4 or 5 other students. And that includes some furniture, a full kitchen. They're actually quite nice. We do conduct a housing lottery. And so it's important for your student to make sure they are admitted to the Ohio State University at Newark, our campus, by mid-April. And then it's important for them to complete the housing application and pay the $350 housing deposit. Now, lots of times, in fact, every year, I speak to at least one parent who's very angry. And they're angry because their student has not received and missed the housing lottery because they didn't receive the housing application. I can assure you, your student will receive the housing application in their Buckeye mail. And so if your student is waiting in March, I think the date of emailing those first applications is gonna happen March the 18th. Let's say we get to April 1st or April 5th and your student hasn't received the application in their Buckeye mail and they've checked, contact our office and we can have that pushed back out to your student. But many times the parent gets angry because they think they didn't receive it. And I can actually tell a parent how many times we emailed their student in their Buckeye mail and sent that application. So let's avoid any angry parents and make sure that your student is checking their Buckeye mail. There are, like I said earlier, there are plenty of off-campus apartments available, but I encourage you, if your student does not get housing and they find themselves on the wait list, make sure you have a plan B. Make sure you come out to campus, you look around at the options that are available. We have a housing list of off-campus apartments available on our website, and we also have those at any event, in-person event that you might attend with us. A couple of things about money that I want to mention. Paying the $100 acceptance fee is not required to be part of our housing lottery. Your student will be notified of whether or not they're in campus housing by the end of April, in time to still meet that May 1st deadline. And if they stay on our wait list until mid-July, they will receive $300 of that $350 deposit back credited to them. This is McConnell Hall. It is the traditional spaces on campus with the communal showers and bathrooms down the hall. It's our newest facility with 120 beds. It's very, very nice, very well acquainted, has a full kitchen in the first floor lobby for students to use, a 300-person multi-purpose room, where we have activities like bingo night, trivia night, movie night in that space for students. Block O fire pit, and also a sand volleyball court outdoors. The apartments on campus, again, I've mentioned this already. I think they're very well acquainted for students, and to be on a college campus. I think they offer students a lot of comfort, kind of the comfort of home on campus, where they have their own bedroom that they share with just one other person. But then, like I said, the bathroom, shower, living room, and kitchen that they share with others. And it is a full kitchen, including a dishwasher, if you can believe that. So important deadlines. Let's talk through those important deadlines. There are lots of them coming up for students. The one that's passed already, we've talked about it already, is the FAFSA deadline. Ohio State-Newark scholarships coming up in 5 very quick days. Learning communities, a great opportunity for your student, April the 1st. Mid-April would be on-campus housing. April 15th for the honors program for your student that wants to pursue the honors program. Should they enroll on our campus and be a part of that honors program, they do have to reapply once they consider or they decide to complete their degree on the Columbus campus. May 1st is that national reply date. Another important thing to keep in mind about May the 1st, if your student pays the acceptance fee by May the 1st, not only will they be amongst the first for placement testing and registration for orientation, but they'll be in that same lottery with everyone else for Ohio State football tickets. Let's talk a little bit about that transition to the Columbus campus and what that looks like for students. Your student, once they enroll on our campus, must complete 30 credit hours after high school graduation. That's a very key phrase there, after high school graduation. So that does not include any CCP credits or AP credits they bring with them. Those 30 credit hours will take your student 2 full-time semesters on our campus. They must maintain or have a minimum 2.0 GPA in those 30 credit hours, and we don't round up. So it's not a 1.97, it is a 2.0 or greater. At that time and during their spring term of their freshman year, they'll sit down with their advisor. Their advisor will confirm that they are ready to transition to the Columbus campus. They sign off on paperwork, and it is a simple campus change process. There is no new application. There is no new admissions process. When your student enrolls on the campus of the Ohio State University at Newark, they're a Buckeye from day one. No one can take that away from them. And they will be a Buckeye until they decide they don't want to be a Buckeye anymore. That's the real benefit of enrolling on a regional campus, is your students' courses and course credits will go right with them to the Columbus campus. So will their grade point average. I realize too that students have lots of opportunities to enroll elsewhere. Now, what I need for you to understand is when your student enrolls on another college campus, they are, number one, then considered a transfer student by Ohio State. Number two, they will have to reapply for admission and go right back through that competitive admissions process that perhaps they've already been through. And three, if and when that transfer student enrolls, you will come in and likely you'll get most or all of your credits from the other institution, but you will come in with a grade point average of 0. I think that's pretty important, because if I was paying for an education, I would want my student to earn and keep that grade point average they worked so hard to obtain. So something to consider when you are considering your options here. Yes, when your student graduates, it doesn't matter where they've started their degree or where they finished, they will have the same degree, the same diploma from The Ohio State University. They will walk at the shot or in the shoe with every other student who's completed their requirements for their major. Some upcoming events. We still have events that we want to invite you and your student to attend. We have one last Buckeye Visit Day on Saturday, April 23rd. We have several virtual events coming up that you and or your student may like to join us for. The learning communities, I cannot emphasize enough that your student consider applying to a learning community. You might be saying, well, what is a learning community? A learning community is a cohort of students who share a common thread or a common bond. For instance, I was a first-generation college student, and our Buckeye Generation Learning Community is for students who are first-generation college students. So I would encourage your student to review all of the learning communities on our website and consider applying to one. They can only apply to one of those. That deadline is April the 1st. I will say that again. You want to learn more, join us on March 23rd. If you have questions about housing and you really want to kind of dig in to that housing information and really learn more, I encourage you to attend that March 31st virtual event, or call our office and speak with your admissions counselor, I think, or your student's admissions counselor. I think any or all of us are very well equipped to share more about housing should you have questions. On April the 7th, we'll talk with Student Life, and they'll share a lot more about what's available to your student on our campus in terms of student clubs, organizations, and events, weekly events on our campus. And for those of you who need the resources of disability services, if you have a 504 or an IEP plan, and you really think you should listen in and learn more about our disability services and what we offer, I certainly encourage you to join us on April the 14th. For any student who has been admitted or will be admitted to our campus by Friday, April the 15th, we invite you to register on our website for our on-campus Future Buckeye Day. It is always my favorite event of the year. There's a lot of great energy. That is very similar to a Buckeye Visit Day, but it's a little bit better for an admitted student than a Buckeye Visit Day. Why do I say that? I say that because we invite campus partners to join us. Like, you're going to hear from an academic advisor. You're going to hear from a student success coordinator regarding all of the great access your student will have to services on our campus to help them with math or with writing or just with general needs in terms of tutoring. So that is a wonderful, wonderful event. And that is happening on Friday, April the 15th, excuse me. Here are some important links, and a couple of these is exactly where we'll be posting this recording of tonight's session. So if you're talking with friends and they were like, oh, unfortunately, we couldn't attend this event or we were unaware of it, you can let them know that the recording will be out there both on the admitted student page and in the parent corner. And so again, those are great links. We keep them updated with new information, especially if your student has not visited the admitted student page. I would strongly encourage them to do so, because there are lots of, I don't want to say hacks out there, but really guides for students to use in terms of how do I access my Buckeye Mail? How do I set it up? Then how do I access it? How do I pay my acceptance fee? There's kind of cheat sheets out there and guides for your students. So definitely encourage you to look at those links. I mentioned this before. If you need help, if your student needs help, you have more questions, that's what we're here for. My team is readily available. We are waiting, and we are available typically Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. for your questions. Through email, you use the Newark Ask a Buckeye email, and that will go to your student's admissions counselor. So either way, you can get access to us, and we'll help you through anything that you might be struggling with, quite frankly. Well, I would encourage you to follow us, especially on Instagram. My colleague, Stephanie Negron, does a great job with our Instagram, Ohio State-Newark Buckeyes. We keep it fun, I think, and lively for students. We'll do some contests for your student. They'll be getting some really nice mail from us in April. For admitted students, they'll be getting some things that if they take their picture with the posters that we're sending them or the yard sign, then they have the opportunity to win Ohio State swag. So that's kind of fun coming up. I want to thank you for your time tonight. I do have my colleague, Wes Grundon, who's going to walk you through a few websites We may answer a few questions live, and then we know your time is very valuable, so we won't waste your time, but I'm going to turn this over right now to Wes. And like I said, he's going to share some of those important websites for you.
Yes, thank you, Diane. And as you're unsharing your screen, I just wanted to say that parents and students, if you're joining us, you heard a lot about important links and web pages that you need to go to. And I felt that it was very important tonight that you had that visual and you had a chance to see exactly what each page looks like and how you can navigate that. And so I do have, as I share my screen here, a series of web pages. And if you can all see that there, you will notice that the first page that I navigated to is my.osu.edu. Now, this is going to be very crucial, as you heard Diane mention earlier. Once you become admitted and you start going through the process as an admitted student, we will stop communicating with you on your personal email. It will actually go to your Ohio State email account. I always smile when I hear Diane mention that we have a lot of information that goes out and it goes to that email, and students will call us and say, well, what happened? And we're like, no, you have to look at that Buckeye mail. And this is where you need to go to activate that. For the students out there, parents know that to get started, they will need their last name dot number. That is given to them. The moment that they apply, they will get a confirmation email sent to them, and that will be included. But if you did misplace that, or you need help retrieving that, we're here to help you with that. We can easily get that for you. And this is the page where you will go and set up that account. And it's one that you'll need to become familiar with, because with your time with us, we do have you go back in there and reset passwords and update your account from time to time. The next page that I was wanting to share with you is our Buckeye Link page. I heard Diane mention this so many times, and the reason is because it is so important. Now, a little different from the email. So when you think about the email, parents, that's how Ohio State will communicate with your student. But where they do what we call the Buckeye business, that is here in Buckeye Link. So when they go to schedule for classes, when they are paying that lovely bill, when they are going through and updating all those things in the to-do list, that is where it will be. It's here in Buckeye Link. And I did want to stress that until you are a fully matriculated student, meaning you pay that $100 acceptance fee, you will need to go still through Buckeye Link, but it is the applicant center. Once you pay that $100 acceptance fee, that's when you get full access to your Buckeye Link account in your student center. And the next page is that helpful page that Diane was just referencing. And as she said, it's not quite hacks, but it's easy how-tos. And for our students that are admitted, it is such an important page. As I scroll down a little bit, you will see quick links. There are videos on here. We will post this video as well that we are recording tonight, and future events as well. And I really love this section here, the quick links for enrollment. So if there's something that you need to do and you're wanting to work on it yourself, you can start right here and it will get you where you need to go, including that first bullet point, that steps to enroll link. That is actually an interactive steps to enroll that takes you through the process, and at each stage, there is a link that you can click on to get that thing done. So very important, especially for every single admitted student this time of year, because you're going to see very quickly a lot of things are going to be coming at you. You heard Diane talking about those dates. The time is now. Now, parents, if you have any students that aren't current seniors that are looking to be applying next year or the year after, this page will still be relevant. We will update this. We do it quite often with new and fresh information so that our admitted students have all the information that they need. I also wanted to reference the Parent Corner, since this is our parent session this evening. And this is another helpful page for, as you guessed it, the parents. And we have some information in there that includes things that you need to know as a parent, helpful tips. And we also share a little bit more about what your student is seeing when it comes to communication from the university. And lastly, I did want to share with you our visit page. And even though you attended tonight, know that we love to have you back for many events. And as Diane illustrated earlier, We have many more virtual events that are coming up over the next couple months. We do have one more Buckeye Visit Day in April and that future Buckeye Day on April 15th. And throughout the year, not just now, but throughout the year, we continue to post new events to this. And we also have recordings on here as well of past events that may have occurred. And as I'm scrolling through here, you can see that it's very easy to register. You just find the event that you're looking for, click the register here button, and it will take you right to the registration page. I also do want to mention something, and I know this is true because I spoke to a couple parents last night and early this morning, that I know there were a few glitches with our event system. And I know that in some occurrences, a Zoom link may not have been sent out. And I was notified actually just this morning that university-wide there was an intermittent glitch in the system causing this. I have been told it has been resolved. But if you registered for any of these virtual events and for some reason you did not get that Zoom link, please reach out to us. I will make sure that you have that so you can come to all these future events. Especially these virtual events too. It's very easy. You can sit at home, relax, and get crucial information about the enrollment process. And with that, I am going to kick it back over to Diane for a few final remarks.
Great. Thank you, Wes. And again, parents, I want to kind of wrap up and summarize what Wes just took you through. And that is the truth. There's an awful lot. And Ohio State's a big place. And in terms of enrolling on any college campus, there's a lot of things to do. And we really want your partnership in helping us help your students. And time is of the essence in terms of deadlines. And with that, not only the March 15th scholarship deadline looming, but then I think crucial after that is whether or not your student is going to apply for housing and all those other opportunities we talked about in April, and then we get to May 1st. And so Wes just walked you through some really valuable websites. I want to encourage you to lean on those as much as we want you to lean on us to help you through the process. I think especially that admitted student page is very dynamic and should be very, very helpful to you and your students. And with that, Wes, I did want to ask, were there any questions that you wanted to answer live that you felt lots of parents might be helped by hearing you answer those questions live?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to thank you parents for keeping those questions coming. We did receive a lot, and I'm very happy for that, knowing that we were able to help you this evening. The first one I will mention myself for the better of the group. We had a question about cars on campus, and yes, every single student, doesn't matter if they are planning to commute, live on campus, or nearby in an apartment, all students are allowed to have cars on our campus. And I'll let you in on a little secret. It is free as well too. You don't get that on the Columbus campus. So parking is free. You just have to register your car with our public safety department. But I did have a question for you, Diane, and I know there were a few that came in tonight revolving around the COVID-19 vaccine and Ohio State's policy. But the big one that I wanted to circle back and ask you, we had a couple parents out there asking, okay, my student, they have been vaccinated. What does it look like? How do we even show the university and update this so that they're aware of what's going on?
That is a great question, and one that will be posted to your students' to-do list. And once you see it on the to-do list, it will walk you through how to update that. There's also I have to think about this website for a minute, the Safe and Healthy Buckeyes website that parents, you could view right now. Just do a Google search for that, or go to any Ohio State campus website and do a search in that bar, and you're going to find it. And I think it could be helpful right now, but let's face it, this is an evolving pandemic, and I think things will definitely be changing. Now, do I think that Ohio State will go away from the vaccination requirement? I don't expect it in the near future. We just now, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, get to remove our mask. The mask mandate is going to be optional as of 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. That's Friday, March the 11th. But I think with the vaccination, I think you can expect that students will need to be vaccinated or have an approved exemption, and that is approved through the Ohio State process. And that's something that students would need to apply for.
Great, and thank you. And another common question that we had, Diane, was revolving around our on-campus housing and the lottery. And I know you did touch on that, but just for the sake of those parents out there that maybe missed a key point, could you share again, what does that process look like? And when would students need to get their information in to apply, and when would they be notified if they got a spot on housing?
Sure, happy to review that again. So the process really starts by ensuring that your student has been admitted to the Ohio State University at Newark. It must be our campus. We think sometime around March the 18th, all students who are eligible for campus housing will be emailed the application. That's when they'll first start to go out. So I would say to any parent, if your student doesn't have it by the very end of March in their Buckeye mail, to reach out to us and we can have that application pushed back out to your students. Again, that is emailed to your students, Buckeye mail. Then we want students to apply and complete that housing application by April the 15th. Now, I could tell you, and I sometimes do tell parents, the actual deadline and the actual campus housing lottery occurs typically that last week of April. But I encourage parents to set a deadline. Establish a deadline with your student and say, on April the 12th, we're going to have family dinner. I'm going to make your favorite dish. And it's just going to be, you and I, whomever is involved in this experience or this decision with your student, have a nice dinner and talk about college and make a decision. If you're moving forward with wanting housing at Ohio State Newark, I think it's wise to do that, because then you simply submit the application, you pay the $350, and you're wanting housing on our campus. I think it's really crucial to do that. And then your student will be notified by the end of April whether or not they're in campus housing. I want to remind you that you do not have to pay the acceptance fee until the end of April, especially if your decision to enroll is based upon whether or not your student gets housing. It's probably wise to wait.
Great, and thank you for covering that again, Diane. I know there were a lot of questions revolving around that, but other than that, I was just looking in the Q&A, and I don't believe we have any other questions. And I think you touched on a lot of the stuff that parents were asking CR and myself this evening, so I think we are good.
Great. Well, I'll just wrap up by thanking you once again for joining us, parents. It's been a pleasure to have you with us. I hope tonight was helpful. I trust that it was. And if you do have questions, please feel free to reach out. You can email us. You can call our office. We are here to help you as much as we are here to help your students. So with that, good night and go Bucks. Thanks again. Bye-bye.